Hi everybody, I'm JT. Welcome to another video from me here at Campervan Journey. You join me here in the beautiful Sarlat countryside in the Dordogne region of France. Now, you join me here at our fabulous campsite in the Dordogne. We're staying in Sarlat and we're just at the end of our first week of travelling around France. So in this video I just wanted to do an explanation as to some of the processes, checks and procedures that we had to follow prior to our trip to France this summer. Winding the clock back about 3 weeks to the beginning of August, it was only on, I think it was the 8th of August, that the British government, the UK government, removed France from what was the Amber Plus list to the Amber list, which meant that it was possible to travel backwards and forwards without quarantining as long as you were within a certain qualifying category. So the first category was being double jabbed, second category was to be under the age of 12, and if you were in a middle ground between 12 and 18, you needed to have a test prior to travelling to verify that you were clear of the virus and sign a sworn statement to declare that you hadn't been exposed to anybody who had any symptoms or had any symptoms yourself as a junior. I'm not going to say minor, but as a junior, so a teenager typically. Now, for those of you who don't know, there's 4 of us travelling in our family on this trip. So Claire and myself, who are both double jabbed and had our second jab a couple of months ago, so we're well past the second jab process. Harry, who is 9, who doesn't require any form of jab process, and Ben, who is 16. Now, prior to travelling, we knew that Ben would require a test ahead of travelling to confirm that he was clear of the virus, and we put in a lot of research online to try and find the right alternatives, and reading the information, it was clear that he needed to provide evidence that 24 hours before travel he was clear of any symptoms and had a negative test. Now, if you search online at the moment in the UK, it's a minefield with regards to all sorts of different providers, different costs, different services, PCR tests, lateral flow tests, send away kits, physical kits, and it's very, very difficult. There's a huge range of pricing as well, and I absolutely have no doubt at all there's a number of companies that are taking advantage of the current situation and profiteering. And indeed, 2 or 3 days before we left the UK, the Health Secretary actually said that he was going to clamp down on these costs because it was obvious that people were capitalising on the requirement for people to test for various situations. So we ended up doing 2 things. So bearing in mind we only needed to book 1 test prior to departure for Ben. So we made the booking and Ben went to have his lateral flow antigen test on the Thursday afternoon. Very quick and simple swab, and if you've ever done the NHS swabs, it's half of that job. They actually literally just swab your nasal cavity. There's no swabbing of the throat at all. So very quick and easy. £99 spent, and then we were assured that we would get an email with the results within 24 hours. As part of the Eurotunnel travel process, we were travelling on Eurotunnel again this year, you have to upload what's called their API information, your Advanced Passenger Information. So Eurotunnel want to know who's travelling, how old they are, your passport information, and now your COVID status as well. So Claire and I both had to upload our details confirming that we'd been double vaccinated. Harry was exempt because of his age, and for Ben we needed to upload the certificate to say that he'd had a negative test. Now, around about 3 to 4 hours later, I checked the Eurotunnel website just to see how things were progressing, and there was a red alert against Ben's name saying that the initial information that we'd uploaded wasn't appropriate, it wasn't acceptable. So didn't go into too much detail as to what this was or why this was. I had a pretty good idea, but decided that it was prudent to phone Eurotunnel to try and establish what this was. Having spent 45 minutes on the phone to Eurotunnel, I spoke to a very, very helpful lady who basically said that the problem was Ben's test, the swab test, had been carried out outside of the 24-hour window. So this is the key thing. So for travelling at the moment, if you're going to have either a PCR or a lateral flow test before you board the Eurotunnel, and I don't know if it's the same on ferries or other services, the test you have carried out must be within 24 hours of travel. Now, if you think about this, this is where it gets difficult. You've got to have the test within 24 hours and have the results back within 24 hours, so you're clear and ready to travel. Okay? So whilst the pharmacy assured us we would have the results and had to have them done on the test on Thursday afternoon to confirm we would be clear to go, that meant having the swab too early. So little to our knowledge, and a little bit frustratingly, the pharmacy didn't explain this to us. That test was invalid. So come Saturday morning, we then needed to have a mad scramble round to find a service that would provide us with a result that would enable Ben to get tested and to get a result and upload this information to the Eurotunnel website to enable us to travel at 10 o'clock this evening. So we managed to find, using some extra research online through Google, a local private, I say local, a private GP about an hour away that could do the correct test, provide us with the result from the antigen lateral flow test within 3 hours, and email that document to us so we had it by 4:30 p.m. All of that worked super smoothly, so it was a massive inconvenience because we had to take 2 hours out of our day driving down, having a test and coming back, but the test was carried out as promised, the results arrived when promised, and we were able to upload them to the Eurotunnel website by 5 o'clock that evening. And clearly, as we're here in France, Ben tested negative, so that was great. The frustrating thing is that we wasted £100 on a test that we didn't need to have done, wasn't going to qualify. Whether we've got any redress on that, I don't know. But the second test was cheaper, and maybe in hindsight we should have opted for that one first of all and just gone down on Saturday morning. So having uploaded that information to the Eurotunnel website, Ben's test was all clear and all of our API boxes were acknowledged green on the Eurotunnel website, so everything was all okay. When we drove down to Eurotunnel, traffic was very, very light, there was no queues. We stopped very briefly at the check-in desk, gentleman on the counter checked our passports, checked our API information, everything was fine and no other documents were required. So whilst we had printed copies of our certificate for Ben, we had our NHS app on our phone and were able to show Claire and I's COVID vaccination status, and obviously Harry was underage, there was no requirement to show anything at all. Now clearly that's not necessarily always going to be the case, so, and if it wasn't evident from the Eurotunnel booking that we'd made online that our API information had been uploaded, then almost certainly you would be asked to present that prior to travel. So our journey through the Eurotunnel was fine, and then driving out, when you disembark Eurotunnel, if you've done before you'll know, you literally just drive straight out of the train and onto the French auto route, so there's no check process at the other end when you leave. Now we've been here in France now, this is the end of our first week, and ahead of booking we were advised to download what's called the Passé Sanitaire, which is available through an app on your phone, and once you've downloaded it you can click into it and actually upload onto your phone your certificate for your own NHS jab. So this basically takes the QR codes from your NH jab, logs it in the Passé Sanitaire app, which then is the app that the French use in public places, public services, restaurants, if you're asked, to declare your vaccination status. So on arriving at our campsites here, we knew that we would have to declare our vaccine status. So you just click into the app, open up the app itself, and then it will log up and show your barcode, your QR code, to declare for both of the vaccines that you have had. As adults, we need to present ours. Because Ben was under the age of 18 and Harry's obviously under 10, there was no requirement for them to show because they're travelling minors with us. The other thing that we were prepared for, and again has been advised, is that when you're out and about in public visiting restaurants, shops, museums, again there's a high likelihood that you may be asked to present your Passé Sanitaire on entry. As such, we've only had to do it once. So we visited a chateau yesterday, and that was the first and only time so far where we had to present our certificate prior to entry. So I'm sure it will happen again for the remainder of the trip, but that's the only time that we've had to have it done so far. But good process, works really easily as long as you've just made you've taken the time to set it up before you travel. So we've been in Sarlat today, and to go into the old medieval town area, which is very much a tourist and local hotspot, you could only enter that zone if you were wearing a face mask, and there's signs up all over the place just reminding you to mask up. So we've just taken the habit, which as I'm sure everybody has over the last few months, of carrying a mask everywhere. So as we walked in to these zones, we were wearing our mask. You certainly couldn't enter any shops without wearing a mask, but you needed to wear masks in these busier open air environments, which is a really good thing, and very proactive from the French authorities' point of view, I think. With regards to our travel back, we know that we all need to carry out an antigen or lateral flow test ahead of boarding the Eurotunnel, and this needs to be done within 72 hours of our departure. Now, the French authorities are far more geared up to this than in the UK, so we can pop into any pharmacy, make a booking to have this done, and get the lateral flow test carried out by an independent health professional, and have the results either provided on certificate or emailed to us, generally within half an hour or so of having the test carried out. We will then have the information that we need to upload onto Eurotunnel to satisfy their requirements for us boarding to travel back. And all four of us will need to have that done. So regardless of age, whether you're vaccinated or not, travelling through the Eurotunnel back into the UK, we need to have had either an antigen lateral flow test, PCR test if you want, but to declare that we are free of symptoms prior to heading back. And then assuming those are clear, then we'll be fine to travel through and head back home. The final thing that we had to do, the final part of the COVID test process, was that we needed to make sure we had booked our 2-day tests for arrival back in the UK. So prior to departure, we organised and again found through recommendation and research online a provider for 2-day tests that will get posted to us, should arrive on the day that we get back in the UK. We then carry out the swab test, post those off through a secure drop-off, and we'll get the results emailed to us to confirm that we're symptom-free on arrival back. So all in all, quite a process and quite involved, but people have asked and people have commented on Facebook and through YouTube, asked us, has it been worth it? Has it been worth the rigmarole? I would answer unreservedly yes. It's a beautiful day here. I'm sat enjoying the Dordogne countryside, speaking to you. It's 30 degrees and enjoying my summer break. Almost as normally as you would do anyway. The downsides are it took time, effort and a little bit of stress to make sure everything was organised, all your ducks were in a row, all your paperwork was organised, and the cost as well. So I think in total, for the tests and process that Claire and the boys would have had to have carried out both pre-departure and arrival, the testing will probably come in at around about £300. So that's, and £100 of that was £100 we didn't need to spend anyway. So single test for Ben prior departure, let's say that was £100, and then the average price to have the tests carried out before we come back is £20, and then the tests that we had organised for the 2-day tests were again around about £50. So let's say £300 to £400 to cover that for you. So it's not cheap, but if you want to travel at the moment, it's the only thing you can do. And the other counter argument I would put to that is that if we were to go away in the UK this summer, prices for camping in the UK have rocketed, availability is minimal, and the weather isn't guaranteed. So yes, we've spent a bit more on our covering the tests to enable us to come here, but I think if we'd stayed in the UK, we would have been spending more on camping anyway. So I really hope that tries to give an overview of the process we had to follow, more importantly reassures you with a little bit of planning and process and organisation. Travelling to Europe needn't be scary, frightening. If anything, get everything organised beforehand. There's nothing to be frightened of from our experience here. Everybody's geared up for COVID correctly. Places, the sanitation stations are still there. Mask wearing in the right places is not a problem, and we're all carrying on in getting back to normal, which is great news. So thank you so much for watching. Sorry it's not been quite maybe as light-hearted as some of the other videos, but please remember, if you found this useful or enjoying any of the other videos I'm putting together, hit the button to like and subscribe, and you can follow all of our Campervan Journey adventures. Thanks for watching.